Hi investigators, Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy with episode 284 of Spy Curious. Today we are looking for the benefit of the licensed investigators in Victoria at the Private Security and County Court Amendment Bill 2024 and what it actually means, how it affects you, what you can do about it, and what's been happening with it. You will have heard throughout the industry, particularly if people have been saying this about you for the last 20 years.
We're being followed.
And you're a surveillance operative or you're a circumstance investigator, it doesn't matter, that the new County Court Amendment Bill will be coming in as of June 2025. It is really applicable to you if you are...
I happen to be a licensed private detective.
...in Victoria. If you're in New South Wales, it doesn't affect you. If you're in New South Wales and you conduct online investigations in Victoria and you are licensed to do that in Victoria, it affects you. Or if you're in Queensland and you do that, it affects you too. So if you want to operate in Victoria, because of this act, which had its royal assent on the basically the 9th of April 2024, it's coming in. You can't stop it. It's happening. You must have a security business license through the Victoria Police Licensing Regulation Division if you are a licensed investigator now in Victoria. That's in June next year. So let's have a look at specifically, point by point, how this act is going to affect you. They haven't said what date it's going to come in other than June-ish, which isn't a real date, but there is no specific issuance from the Licensing Regulation Division who have to do this on behalf of VISIAC. All we know is it comes in June 2025. The Licensing Regulation Division have not specified precisely which units of the qualification you have to get. We don't know that as yet. In the past, they have specified that with security risk management in the past. That was a long time ago. That was more than 12 years ago.
Well, what makes them think you're a risk management expert?
Back then, you had to have risk management knowledge and a qualification. Today, you don't. Right? So it's not risk management. The qualification they want you to hold basically is this one. It's a certificate for in security management. That's what it is. If you look closely, you'll see it's got your name on it. That's what they want. So that's the qualification they currently say on their website that meets the requirements of the security business in Victoria as of now. Now, they haven't confirmed that as of today to be changed in 2025 in June-ish. Okay, that has not happened. But that's the qualification you see sitting there in front of your face that you have to get. You cannot have your old Certificate 3 in Investigative Services that you got off me back in 2005. That won't cut it. You cannot have a diploma of government investigation and say, I want my business license. They won't accept it. Never have. This is about you, the individual investigator who's operated successfully for 25 years. As an individual investigator, now having to have the qualification in front of you in June 2025 to keep your investigation license and your investigation business, so to stay in business. You no longer have to be a member of an expensive, irrelevant industry association. That's gone with this. Once you have your qualification, that's it. It's optional now to be a member of an industry association. You can still join an industry association, go along to the meetings. Previously, you had a choice of holding the qualification or being a member of an irrelevant industry association, but now you only have to have the qualification. You don't have to do both anymore, right? So no more industry association membership is required. You can still join an industry association, nothing wrong with that. You can network with peers in the industry. That's absolutely fine. This qualification is a business management qualification within the security industry. That means if you have 5 years industry experience running an investigation business, organising other subcontractors and other people, or doing it yourself and managing your own occupational health and safety and having your own policies, processes and procedures, that sort of thing, you can get recognition of prior learning if you can prove that by third-party documents. Third-party documents include qualifications you've gained over time, your tax records or business results, that sort of thing. They demonstrate that you have successfully been in business for over 5 years. So if you can demonstrate that, you can get recognition for prior learning. It is available now, this qualification. It's been available for the last 5 years. If you're an Australian Security Academy student and you would like to get this qualification, you don't need it until June next year. Now, keep this in mind. When you apply for your business licence through the Victorian Police LRD, the qualification you use cannot be older than 1 year old in that application. So you can apply for it today, you can get it today. But keep in mind, they haven't officially announced this yet. All right. So rather than rush to comply, you can wait a while. Now, if you don't want to wait, as of 6 p.m. tonight, in the description below, if you are an Australian Security Academy graduate, there is a link to a special deal price on this $1,995 qualification that you can take advantage of. If you really want to get it moving, you can enroll in it, and then we can discuss your recognition of prior learning, or you can just study it. That's up to you. That doesn't matter. Okay. So the link is in the description if you want to take advantage of a really good offer to get it. Now, you're going to hear people saying, oh, you got to have it now, you got to have it now. No. By June 2025 is when you have to have it. And it's only this qualification. It's not your Certificate 3 in investigative services. So why should you get this qualification from the Australian Security Academy? Well, it comes with the required standard operating procedures to have a security business in Victoria. 68 pages of them. Now, you've never heard as an investigator of standard operating procedures unless you worked in the security industry, in nightclubs or in cash in transit or in guarding of facilities. They have SOPs. The police don't distinguish between investigators and security guards. So they say when you apply with your qualification for your Victorian business license, right, you must have standard operating procedures. The ones that come free with this program cover 68 pages, have what's in each one to however many there are, and when that situation is likely to occur. And it also has key verification activities in that security operation SOPs. So your security operation procedures, it's all there. So that comes with it, free with the program at the Australian Security Academy. Now, what you don't do is you don't go and jump online now and use this form to apply for your business license, because what's in there is the old information, an old form that hasn't been updated yet because VISIAC only met last week. And the LRD have to wait for them to tell VISIAC to tell the Chief Commissioner, and the Chief Commissioner tells the LRD, and they will adjust that business application form to suit for what's required in June next year. So you don't go filling out the form today, because it's going to change next week or in 3 months or in 6 months, or they're not going to be happy with all of this and they're going to delay it for 2 years. Who knows? So do not go to the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division website today and fill in that form, because it's going to be out of date for the purposes of what we're here for today, which is the Private Security County Court Amendment Bill 2024. So I hope I'm clear on that. You can study your qualification. You can get your qualification now. Have it in your hand, ready to apply when they update this for June-ish 2025. Nothing wrong with it. But they haven't said this is precisely the units, this is when, exactly when, all that sort of thing at this stage. Want to be really clear about that. Okay, so it has to follow VISIAC telling the police commissioner thinking about it, accepting it. It's already had royal assent. The Chief Commissioner is going to say, okay, we're going to get the green light as of February the 17th, 2025, or April 6th, 2027, who knows? But it's supposed to be June 2025. Now, there's some big issues with this. You have to do, when you go out now, before you do a security activity, which includes surveillance or a circumstance investigation, a security risk assessment 24 hours before you undertake that activity. Now, the one in front of you comes free with your qualification at the Australian Security Academy only. So that's really important. And that one is just an example of what it might be. Now, whether the Victorian Police come out with a preferred one that they want, that's up to them. They haven't said that yet. But if you have to do a security risk assessment 24 hours in advance of your investigation for surveillance, or to go and take a statement in a circumstance investigation, you get the form, and the form identifies the risk severity level, and the form goes right through to the likelihood of what's going to happen and the impact of what's going to happen, and whether it's highly likely or highly unlikely. This is how they do the Olympic Games, with a little graph like that you see there. Ever since Sydney, that's how they've done it. It's based on the Australian standard. So you get the security risk management form free with it, so you can comply with that. Now, the issue came up, and to their credit, you've got to give them credit at the VISIAC, what they said in relation to the issue of, okay, I've been given an urgent surveillance. I only got it tonight. I've got to start 4 a.m. tomorrow morning in Ballarat. I can't have done a security risk assessment as I am supposed to do under the County Court Amendment Act 24 hours before that, because there just isn't time. There is an exemption for investigators in Victoria, because they have listened and they have understood that urgent surveillance or urgent circumstance with pending matters going to court and statements need to be taken over the weekend, whatever, okay, involving the TAC, right? Or it could involve whatever it might involve, who cares, right? WorkSafe, whatever, okay. They understand that that does happen, and they've said in those cases of emergencies, there isn't a requirement to have it signed off 24 hours in advance. So that's alleviated one pressure, which was ridiculous because security guards just go to a facility. It doesn't change. Whereas private investigators go to private homes, go to factories where they have to have an induction anyway, right? They go on to sites where they have to have an induction anyway. So it's doubling up on it. And they've accepted that. And so there is an exemption for urgent situations. But if you made an appointment 5 days in advance to an interview with a witness, you must do a security risk assessment on that activity. If you've been asked to do surveillance next Thursday in Frankston for 3 days, 8 hours a day, you must do a security risk assessment, submit that to your client 24 hours before you start it, and they must sign off on it too. So I hope that's really clear. That is because you have to be a security business. You have to comply with what is specified in the County Court Amendment Bill for private security. And it's not impossible. It can be done. So within all of that, if you're an Australian Security Academy graduate student, after 5 p.m. on the 5th of September 2024, in the description below, use the link to go to our website and see where you can enrol in that program for recognition of prior learning or for study. Now, currently we've got it set up so some of the units will be a cross credit from your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services current, or they will be similar to what was done before. So they haven't changed that much that they're different. You can still be cross-credited for them. So if you've only got 3 years experience running your own business and you have to study something, it's lessened by the fact that some of those units you do not have to study and you can get straight cross-credit for. Within all of that, even though you do not have to be a member of an industry association, you get free membership of the Australian Security Academy's Industry Association, which is AIRLAP. And basically, free membership means you have the right to take part in our CPD program about vulnerable customers and financial hardship if you're in general insurance or workers' compensation doing psychological and psychiatric claims. Or you might take part in our CPD program for Commonwealth Fraud Corruption Rule that came in late last year. Or you might take part in our fraud program, that sort of thing. All of that is free with your upgraded qualification here if you want to take advantage of it. Why would you do that? You're demonstrating to the LRD, I am keeping up with my continuous professional development. I'm running my own business. I have done for the last 20 years. I don't pretend to know everything. I'm complying with your requirements for June 2025, even though the form isn't up on the website yet. I don't know when the form should have to be up on the website. The cops are very busy, right? So this form is going to change. It's going to say specifically for the security business, you must get this qualification at some stage. How are they going to address the people that have already held a business license in Victoria who are investigators? And there are 80 of them. I do not know what the LRD's position is there. I'm one of them. Whether the LRD are going to come to me and say, Mike, we've cancelled your business licence, you've got to get this qualification before June-ish 2025, and then we'll reinstate it. They may do that. They have the power and the right to do that. They did it back in 2005 with the Certificate 3 in Investigative Services that almost all of you that are watching this did with me through recognition of prior learning to comply at that time. Now, here we are, 19 years later, we're doing the same thing, but it's a totally different qualification. I repeat, do not send them your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services, because if you haven't upgraded it to the latest version, they're going to say, well, you've been operating 3 years out of date or 15 years out of date. So you must get this qualification, not a degree in accounting, not a diploma of fraud control from an American place that issues fraud control diplomas based on American stuff. You can only get the Australian one. That's what they're asking for. It's your decision when you want to do it. I expect to be very busy in May in 2025. But if you want to enrol in it, you want to get it moving, link in the description, only if you're an Australian Security Academy student. If you're not an Australian Security Academy graduate student, then you can go somewhere else and get it, and they'll look after you just like we do with our students. So basically, people, what I'm saying to you, do not fill in this form today and expect that to apply to June next year, because it may change. I'll be surprised if it doesn't change, but it's got to change to comply with exactly what's required in this Private Security County Court Amendment Bill. Make no mistake, if you are a subcontractor, you have to get a business license. It's the same in New South Wales. They've done it for several years now. It's just part of what they do. You're used to this. They did it in 2005. You met me 19 years ago in relation to it. I am constantly visiting Melbourne. I'm in there in October, but I'm booked out just as a result of this, because I've got to do face-to-face interviews for the RPL, but I don't have to do that for cross-credit and study. So if you're cross-crediting it and studying it, you don't have to take the time out to come and meet me like you did before. So to recap, this is the qualification. You do not have to be a member of an industry association anymore. Voluntarily, you can. Don't fill in the form as it exists on the LRD website now, expecting to comply with it, because we don't know what they have said. In the past, it was security risk assessment, security management, and an old security risk assessment qualification. We don't know what they're going to do with the existing businesses, whether they're going to ask them to study this qualification, get it. We don't know. It's all up in the air. We're waiting on their advice, and they will advise through the LRD circular that they issue to the security industry in Australia when the green light comes from the Chief Commissioner. They do. And then they'll start enforcing, because they will. Now, one of the issues came up about how are they going to afford to do this. Come around, knock on your door and say, show us your security risk assessment for the last 10 jobs you've done, and that they were submitted with your client 24 hours prior to you left to do it. Well, the LRD are underfunded, under-human resourced, and I don't know that they have the capacity to do that. In the last survey of the security industry, it was made very clear that they didn't have the capacity to do that. They may be funded for it. I don't know. But what I do know is they do know who's licensed. If you're licensed and you haven't got the business license in Victoria, you're going to be told to get it. You might say, oh, well, that's just revenue raising. I don't think the Victorian Police want to do it, to be honest. Right? They're doing it. So what I was told in one meeting I went to by the person in charge, who was a senior sergeant, he said, we want to know who we are dealing with at that security business, because a security business could be run by anyone anywhere and owned by anyone anywhere if they've got one contact in Victoria who is licensed. And last year, a lady lost $500,000. She invested in a security business in Victoria, and it was for a registered security business, but the guy took off with the money to the Middle East, and she's lost her entire life savings. Now, this was coming in way before that happened. It's been on the radar now for some 3 years. But it is going to happen. Whether you like it or not, it's coming in June 2025. Link in the description how you can get the process in motion. And basically that process is get the qualification. By getting the qualification, you are preparing for when they actually get the right form on their website with what they want to do. You can't rush them. It's got to be done right. They'll have endless meetings about it and discuss what's going to be in this sentence and in this paragraph and what this requirement's going to be and how that meets the Act's requirements. All that's still yet to be done for them to fill in that form, which should be ready by June 2025. There is nothing stopping you from getting the qualification before that if you want it. You don't have to. You can wait till June. That doesn't matter. No sheep station, depends on that. There are people who will want to comply at all costs and do it immediately. And there are people that will take their time and wait to see if it gets put off for 5 years. That's fine. All I'm doing is disseminating the information that it is available to be studied. It isn't rocket science. It's about running a security business, security management, which in Victoria is investigations management as well. I hope that gives you some clarity around what is going to happen with the Private Security and County Court Amendment Bill 2024. You have been watching episode 284 of Spy Curious. I'll see you Friday afternoon for episode 285. Thanks for watching, people. Link in the description if you want to study that course and comply, and you're an Australian Security Academy graduate student. A quick PS. If you are studying Certificate 3 in Investigative Services right now, and you graduate in June in 2025, you do not have to get this qualification for June 2025. You do not have to. You've got your Certificate 3, you get it June 2025, then you have 1 year after that to get what's in front of you. So after you become licensed with your Certificate 3, you have 12 months to get what's in front of you. Don't need both at once. Okay, so you can RPL, Certificate 3 in Investigative Services, get your license. Within 12 months, you've got to get this as well. That's how it's going to work. Thanks for watching. You've been watching episode 284, riveting Victorian private investigator news that doesn't apply to New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, Western Australia, South Australia, Queensland, or New South Wales, unless you are living in that state, licensed in Victoria, and then it applies to you 100% if you're licensed in Victoria.